ACP Dr. Mrs. Phyllis Osei.
Thank you so much. I can see my face. I'm very honored. Anytime they introduce me, I feel humbled. And I'm very happy to be here. Asafunupa, you managed to bring me. Since last year, he was knocking. He wanted me to come, but a lot of things kept happening. But today, it has been the will of God that we should meet. So we are here. Papa, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Today, we want to talk about stress management. I know everybody here has gone through one phase of stress or the other. But today, we are not going to go philosophical. We are going to go frontal. In police, they say ground the arms. It means we are going down to the grassroots. So what do we know about stress at all? Any volunteer? Oh, stress. What animal is called stress? Oh, I know a lot of... Yes, please. Thank you. Okay. Who knows what stress is? Any volunteer? So we continue. What is stress? Yes, sir. So what is stress? Anything that makes you tired. So I'll add another one. Overwhelmed. Any volunteer?
Try.
To hold it. Oh, okay. That is stress. But which one is? Okay. So we are talking about stress. Something that makes you tired. Any volunteer? Worried. Pressure. Lack of money. Your child worrying you. You've done everything. Thinking to, thank you. But you cannot sleep. Sometimes the women, we cannot have our menses. For months, it's not coming. But you are not pregnant. You are not menopause. It is not coming. The men too. At a point, you see that you are going to 6:30. Also from Pacho 1 till. You are going to 6:30. That can be stress. So, stress is a long talk. But I keep it simple. You know the mathematician. They say greater than, less than. So stress happens when your pressure is greater than your resource. Or when your pressure is less than your resource, you can get stress. Mass for no more. So what are your pressures? All the things you mentioned, including your mind, can give you pressure. We also have our resource. What resource do we have? Our human being, our salary, our children, our work, our finances. These are resources that we need as catalysts to enjoy life. But there are times that these resources, there are a lot of demand on it. Pressure. The pressure can come from external and internal. So the external factors could be one, your work. The work that is generating money for you can also become traumatic for you. So I'm a police officer. Sometimes you meet officers and they tell you, Madam, minim say adwuma no saa na ɛte kra nkamamba. Especially the constables. They send them to duty and their colleagues are killed. And it puts fear in them. Hey, so next time, I could be the one that is going. So naturally, that human being is feeling that their life is at stake. So now I want to ask you some few questions and then we can progress. I want us to know that stress is part of life. It's inevitable. There's nothing anybody can do without managing it. Is it possible to live without stress? You say it's not good. So, is it possible? It's not. Anybody to give me any reason they think? Yes, sir. Today they are on you. Yeah. Uncle Jeff, before I go, I'll carry you.
Well, it is not possible to live without stress because first we are human. We are not superhuman. So naturally we are human, and by nature there's sin in us. As Christians, it's Christ that takes us unto salvation. So as long as there are negative impacts all around us, unconsciously we can get stressed. It's not always a conscious something, but sometimes it's actually unconscious. You don't plan to, but somehow it's part of it.
Like I said, we are looking at two variables. The first one has to do with the pressure, which can be internal or external to you, plus your resource. So, you have to remember that stress is not always a negative thing. It is good because the body has been programmed for survival. Because if you don't experience a little stress, then it means your whole life will be on a standstill. What stress does for us is to give us energy so that we can cope. When stress happens, your whole body is energized for action. But we are talking about the negative consequence. When you look at stress, it's triggered from the brain down to our toes. And the body has been programmed in such a way that there are secretions of chemicals. So anytime that you are triggered for stress response, there are automatic things that you don't have control over. So we are saying that stress does not come from only negative events. Who planned their marriage? Those who are married. When you are preparing for your wedding, how was it? Very stressful. But it's a very positive event. Those of us who go on labor ward, hey, the moment the child comes and they say, no, Rafi. Then you are there, no, 9 months. Thank you. So we are saying that stress does not come from only negative events. Let's look at our own explanation. Stress is unavoidable. You can't do anything about stress. Whatever you do, you will experience stress. My dear, I can see blue. Is everything okay? Can you see? Okay. So, because stress is inbuilt, it gives us the energy to move. Remember that there are different ways people respond to stress. As I sit, there are some things I cannot stand. I'm a police officer, but anytime I have to go and break a news of trauma and pain to somebody, I feel it. I remember the last time, I don't know whether you follow the social media, where our officer went on duty and he was shot dead. Young person, less than 30 years. His wife, 25. and the lady just saw the information in social media, and you have to go and break the news. It's not easy. But sometimes you go, you tell the news, and the woman is just sitting down watching you as if nothing has happened. Hey, you look at individual differences. One time I went to a scene. I was thinking about what to go and say, my prepare, my rehearse, because, hey, obi ani kunewu. Meko asem chere maame na. I say, inti wewu. Okay, mate, enye hwe. Just like that. Later we dug and we saw that papa no kro ne maame ni ni bond no montna. De bia omo kona papa no konoba. But there is somebody, yes, make a handle case be. Oh, 5 years, papa newu. Mami ne jampa no, side no. De bia or lay bed na, no the papa ne niama to anajo, or si oda no de nensa to so. She has still not let go. So people have different levels of stress and the way they cope. Let's look at some of the pointers that are in circles, but I'll take them one by one. We will look at religion. Religion can impact on the way you perceive stress. Yengina yeti hei. Se ye doye hu. Na se obia sem ye obia semwa. Stress enye bebre wo yeso. Because se bibi toa. You have a lot of people to come around you. And so you will forget temporarily what you are going through. Ba obi owa onyu bia. Enti sa asem to na the load is on them. For us as Christians, we have the Bible. Bible no kire eniema. Yesu Christ all go through stress. Esimoja, ne sweat dropped like blood. So it means that the framers or the Bible is telling us that whatever you do, remember that there will be a time in your life. And go through stress. I'm handling a young boy, 17, Oko SS. Ni teacher catch and say ni teacher se mango. Enti oti wa no de nsa ebo ni ti sei. O reshape niti no. And for almost 1 year, untumi nko school, untumi concentrate. And ane papa hwe ne performance or drop it. Omonde ne bae. Na mi sinti. And then I'll bet me I will say, Auntie, when I hit my head left and right, then it will come back to normal. Or when I hit it like this, then it will go down and then I'll be free. So Nkora Krampo go through stress. When they are laughed at school, it affects them. I will share examples of issues on environment and personality. It's a big factor. You know, sometimes naturally, encophobia or their personality type, they are very, very arrogant. You know, we have the two strands of personality. We have the introvert, the extrovert. In the extraversion or the extrovert, there are two categories. The sanguines and the cholerics. Sanguine, you need G. Bibia, you just want people to be happy. The choleric is a bully. Always when they are in a group, they want to take over. They want to usurp position. So when they are working with you, you will always see them undermining you. They will give you stress. But obey anything. Uti anye ye kra no your boss wewu. Bibia obey bia enso nani. But what you have to do is your pressure. The pressure is higher than what you can cope. So you have to find a way of stepping down some of the pressure by changing your reaction so that you don't get worked out. Because for them, they are hurting you and they are not even feeling it. Because so these two, they are all extroverts, but one is very damaging. So when you are dealing with people who are cholerics, don't work out too much emotionally. Because whatever you do, they will not feel it. Okay. Now let's flip to the other side. We have people who are phlegmatic, very calm, peace-loving. They will even apologize when you are wrong. You have such people in marriages and relationships. And de bibia omo pasundwe. Oya ne bone cross o mira enya hwe. Mira enya hwe. But if you find choleric in a marriage, fireworks. Because obi asem yede. So moya marriage counseling now. You have to look at these personalities and then find a way of helping them to understand that this is you. You can't change it. But self-awareness and psychoeducation will help them to understand who they are. A lot of people don't know who they are. They are just there. Then we have another type called melancholy. Melancholy for no more ferrade. They are perfectionists. Enti sa oni omo wo group a na se wo come winning pe no makanse. Enti sa wo akora. Remember that if you overwork the child and then penalize them, always insult them, they will recoil and you step down on their potential. Enti yestrema about time. Personality stress has an impact on the way you manage your personality. Then I want to look at biological factors. Naturally, everybody has some component that they can't change. I once handled a couple. They were all ASAS. And they were deeply in love. So, when they started counseling, the pastor didn't tell them that, oh, go and do it at the beginning. Fix your date. Then the pastor decided that, look, I want you people to go and do the test. Enkoyi. Obane si lalai. Mewaro. Bema no so mewaro. Then I'm saying Timo Beware saying. So the brother of the husband, who happens to be a senior police officer, called me. And he mom by. She said, first 2 sessions, nenye bete. Enye bete. Finally, I just did some small science when I was in school. And no, I took a pen and paper. I wrote all the genotypes. I crossed. Then when I did it, I asked them, what are your chances of having an AA child or somebody who is genetically correct? Then they said 1/4. I said, can you predict when this AA child will come? She said, no. But ma, send ye nyame asem. And nyame peno say ba ye be manage. When we reach the bridge, we'll cross it. So I sat her down and I gave her examples of cases. I always share cases because sometimes people don't know. They just have an idea that it will work out. But practically, a whole senior officer, assistant commissioner, neba, ni kune dwane jano. Because sika bi omunye bia kwara ba akono. Omuntumi they bia onam hospital. They bia onam hospital. So when I explained to her, the guy accepted. Obane de osi dead. Finally, we had to split them. And now they are doing very well. Do baby, I saw for counselors, Miss Remo. Try and do it early. Because, when people get so in love, it's difficult. Into marriage counselors, no, Miss Remo. Mama inken ko sa side, no. Because they do baby, I want to mean. Let's look at the types of stress. In the literature, there are different categories. Some people would say quiet on this. So I called a friend who invited me for the program. We sat down, we managed to get the number of the father. And then we explained to him that, the boy misses him and that he had to arrange and let the boy come for holiday. Otilo, Okoye, no, because the boy was fed up. The trauma was too much for him. So we've seen basic stress, we've seen cumulative stress. And one thing about cumulative stress is that it can give you burnout, which will give you a lot of problems. And it is the onset of illnesses anytime that you are not able to manage your cumulative stress. We've talked about traumatic stress, and post-traumatic stress disorder is a disease. So anytime that you are unable to manage your traumatic experience, it will develop after 31 days to 6 months. You have the potential of developing this disorder. And in this disorder, it's so uncomfortable. The individual feels overwhelmed. It's as if their whole world is coming to an end. They relive the feeling of guilt. They relive the feeling of fear. And I'll share a story of a young man. He was married, and the night before their wedding, they said they called something bachelor's night, or how do they call it? So they arranged at the hotel, and his friends arranged with his former girlfriend, and they brought him to the hotel room. And because he was a little under alcohol, it happened. Now, this young man, after the wedding, everything was going well. He started feeling guilty. Now, he was developing erectile dysfunction. He started having dumso. Eswa nedum. Eswa nedum. Sometimes, so yeah, pre, na sorry, pine, na sample. So at the end of the day, he confided in someone and they brought him. We worked on him, and thank God he's now doing well. So whatever you do, sometimes you may think that you are okay, but the body will give up on you if you are not able to manage it. How do I know that I have stress? Some of the common sources of stress for us in everyday life has to do with family, interpersonal relationship. In fact, I warned my husband that if he came here, I will use him as a case study, so he didn't come. As Afunukwa, you are one of the suspects. So, in relationship or marriage, there is a point where you think that you know the person. You begin to take the person for granted. And most of the time, that's where our problems start. You need to respect each other. You need to keep the sanctity of your home. So when your relationship gets to a point where you think that, onyobia, then you are running into chaos. Let us respect each other. Sometimes we engage in a lot of activities that keep the family low on finances. Look, some people want to build a 10-bedroom house. They want to build 3 houses at the same time. You don't have all those resources. Save for your children's future. It's important for you to remember that. Illnesses can create problem for a family, illness. I'm currently handling a case where the woman has she's gone mental because of the postpartum depression. On Tiasia, Papa and Tiasia, everybody is really underage. And the children, because of that, the woman thought the man was, the one creating the problem. So he said, okay, let me step out of the house. Now it has moved to her younger children. 13 years, or man korano kra light. Or sister saw light and uncle for by fear or besheno. So at the end of the day, these children have to go out to the community to use electricity to do their homework. And when you are going to marry, yes, Remo, some investigation is very necessary. Sometimes we don't so be addressed kama, but I be or not tiafaso. Timuhun in tema, mamun taking it for granted and say that nyame be debi, you will run into chaos. Sometimes disaster, fire, flooding, it can affect and give you stress. Now, separation from a loved one. In fact, it's one of the things that a lot of people cannot cope with, especially when you think that you've not done anything wrong. So, sometimes the milestone challenges that we go through can also give us stress. Retirement. I know that a lot of you are preparing for retirement or you're already on retirement. But retirement can bring a lot of stress. You know that you would definitely exit. But that separation feeling, when it's approaching and the reality is dawning on you, you feel it. For us as police, it's worse. I remember last year or so, I was running some retirement program for our officers. And they were like, oh, now I want some more hammer. Now seeing name say a buy and then they served one of our commissioners his separation letter. He took it on Thursday. Friday, Monday, when he came to the office, he said, Phyllis, in fact, me say me ko, but letter na my mood changed. The whole of the weekend, meant to me under my ha. I'm saying, Master, auntie, was you go and see the IG? Let them change the way they serve the letters. Because reality is dawning on him. And sometimes when they separate, you see them coming to parade the headquarters. Omo nyahrio, omo beji salute. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Officer is passing. Yes. So at the end of the day, all the yes, sir, from full respect, no day. And so the individual begins to feel that, oh, into me pa na me twema, obi enfi mi. Me na me car di traffic mu. Police head do, ya humbra. It's not traffic ma. People, if you okra ni enko baby a because it's sweet. So now let's look at in the line of work. Sometimes you have too much work. And he said you get tired. Okay, in situations like that, what you do is to find time for yourself, self-care. Otherwise, you break down. In situations where there is too little work to do, it can also give you boredomness and you get stress. So in that instance, you try to do personal activities. They call it non-curriculum, so that it can balance and bring you to equilibrium with your resources. We also have lack of skills. Sometimes some people are incompetent. They know that they are supposed to work in this office. They have given them their job requirement. They don't read. They will just come and sit down like that and be doing social media. Meanwhile, you can use your phone. Uncle Google is there. He can help you to arrive at some solution. They will not do anything. Laziness. When you have people like that under you, you will suffer. Because baby, you have to go back and redo it. But they don't grow. So it can also trigger stress and even give a lot of work to the people who are working hard already. And I want us to look at hitting targets. A lot of people are paid based on targets. This can trigger a lot of stress in you because sometimes you don't have control over what people want. And the market changes. So at the end of the day, you realize that you are putting in a lot of effort and it's not yielding good results. For most men, in fact, I'm sorry that I've not concentrated on the women because I thought I was going to speak to only males. But there's an issue called toxic masculinity. Toxic, poisonous. When we are young, they tell us, oh, bemensu. So even when you are hurt and you are in pain, you don't want to openly show that you are sad. Until you stay with it, and at the end of the day, when you even grow, you are unable to express your emotions. And when you harbor or keep so much pain in you, small thing, you'll be crying. I worked in Dovsu for some time, for like 7 years. One day, somebody came, and he insisted that he wanted to see Commander. And I know I don't have an appointment. This guy, they brought him. I brought my station officer. Madam, our talk is one-on-one. I don't want anybody to be here. In fact, I felt scared because I didn't know what he was bringing on board. Then, immediately the station officer stepped out. What is this? Crying like a baby. He sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. So I asked him, what is your problem? Madam, can you imagine? My wife beats me. Whoa. Bemensu. But bemenesu why? Because abro so. What's the madam near me crying say, they be uncle me with them. And then they walk up me while Bontiam will be able me. So he said, "Ne sister Crampo or Obama Sumno, none sister Cram Sujna or none Massing Sujna, and I'm looking so sheepishly." He was the one who encouraged me to do my research, my dissertation on male violence. Some men suffer in silence. And so please, when a man wants to cry, let him cry. And for some men too, they don't know anything in the kitchen. Even how to boil an egg. Or boiling egg to make shit. So, when you have all those inadequacies, somebody will take advantage of you. Miss Remo, our boys, let them also take active part in the kitchen. Now, for our men too, we have some stresses that has to do with body. There are males who have a lot of breast. There is what we call body dysmorphic disorder. So you see that they have developed big breasts, they have developed buttocks, sometimes their stomach is dropping, and exercise bia or bia and yield any positive results. It affects them. It affects their self-esteem. So people like that, they would want to go through surgery so that they can take off some of the fat. Like my own like this. I can't do anything about it. I have inherited it and I'm managing it. So I'm part of the body dysmorphic people. Now, let's look at erectile dysfunction. I have cases of men who are on medications, and as a result, their doomsor has increased. Please, if you notice anything like that, don't be quiet. Go back to your doctor and let them review your medication. They now have a lot of medications that will help you to retain your manhood. So please, don't stop taking your medication because it has a lot of consequences for your health. Now, there is an aspect of social media, and this goes to our young people. My cousin is one of the head of department at UCC. We had a young boy who went to school and decided to live big. Yes, he was living a big life. Meanwhile, so he started connecting with big women online. They were giving him money. At the end of the day, they were using him for several bad things, including the backstop. So he was enjoying money, but he was feeling depressed. At the end of the day, he attempted suicide. Had it not been his roommates who came back to take something from the room, they would have found him dead in the room. He took poison. So please, our young boys and then girls, don't run after money. There is time for everything. God's time is the best. Learn and approve yourself. Don't follow money because it may not last. I want us to also look at sometimes addiction, substance abuse. My friends say, you see that addiction will set in. And in addiction, there is an aspect of betting that is now gaining a lot of ascendancy. One of our officers, I was called to one of the stations. This man had 2 cars. An elderly man who has children. You know, the first, or ton car, or CBB, the aviator was avatar was there. So he sold the car, bet, one winning, or ton second car, no, bet, one winning. And then he wanted to commit suicide. So we spoke to our Director General Welfare, and they arranged for some loan for him. Oji bet, Oji scanepe. Also got to bet 30,000. And I say, what is wrong with you? Then he said, Madam, this time there, you people should let me die. I may say, this one, choose the formula you want. Do you want slow motion or you want the quick one? I will help you. Excuse me to say, you are an idiot. What on cast me, no? What to bet? And I'm saying 30,000 or this, I say, Madam, but show me the 7,000. I'm saying for 7,000, never. I say, Madam, Obabo me. And also me to go try a bet. And I'm saying, oh, Yanko po home mobile. Now, sometimes there are instances where some people would want to invest in women. Although they're okay, but you have to be wise. I had a young man, Ninia crap a police, one man and be due, and not then a girl. Girl, ni way your passing out pet. Wejano. I say, Madam, me kuno. Me kuno physical, mo betche me atum. Me ko poni dua. And I'm say, Krache, don't worry. Siaga. So sometimes you will invest in somebody with a hope. If you are ready that your pressure cannot be equivalent to your resource, don't do it. Put your money in the bank. Because sometimes people can really be ungrateful. Maybe I know odu or crampo no donut. So if you are stressed, there are things that you can see. Stress has 3 components. The first one has to do with your cognition, your brain. Whenever you are tired, whenever you feel worked out, the brain begins to have a lot of work. For example, today I don't want to go into biology, but you feel so much headache, part of your brain begins to, bump, and you can see that all is not well. Physically, you will see that you are not happy. You are not even able to eat. You cry uncontrollably. You go to bed and things are going round in the room. And so you become very angry when you wake up. You don't feel rested. You have difficulty concentrating. Sometimes to fear. You panic over little things. Your muscles begin to tremble. Sometimes you want to take in alcohol or other substances to numb your pain. But remember that addiction has a big problem when you have to manage it. It's not easy. Detox alone nowadays costs like 3,800. And then when you have to do rehab for 6 months, every month you are going to pay like 3,500. So please let us be mindful of our addiction. I want us to know that Jesus Christ, did he get stressed? When you go to Mark chapter 14, 32 to 34, those of you who have Bibles, you can read for us. I'll read what I have here. And they went to a place called Gethsemane. And he said to his disciples, sit here while I pray. And he took with him Peter and James and John, and he began to be greatly distressed and troubled. So distress, discomfort, trouble are all elements of what? Stress. And Jesus, the Son of God, went through it. How much more mere mortals like us? When you also go back to Luke 22, and he said, and being in an agony, he prayed and more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. So agony, sweat, heavy, tells you that Jesus went through stress. So we also have to understand that it is important for us to manage our stress because it's inevitable. We can't do much about it. How do I manage my stress? A psychologist called Elliot, he's saying that if you can't flee and you can't fight, then flow. Remember, our S is equal to pressure greater than what? Resource. So, the things that you can control, which are external to you, what do you do to them? You try as much as possible to avoid some of them, or you alter your reaction. One time, an officer came to me. He said, Madam, my officer, we dey pia o ye me san no go many months. And I'm saying, hey, I'm going to show you something. Don't cry. Don't get worked out. He said, Madam, my and I'm saying, let's try this one. He said, I'm saying, yeah, just tell me what he does. Or see about Shemanim sir, or see idiot, idle constable. And I'm saying, sir, and I'm saying, you two, you look into his face and say it in your mind. He said, Madam, how am I going to say it? I said, so no do I kind of verbally. What do you mean, you know? Idle constable. Idle commissioner. Idiot. Idiot commissioner. What's wrong? And when she started that, she was feeling light. So whenever somebody wants to bring you down, find a way of bringing yourself up. Idiot. Idiot commissioner. Idle commissioner. So the moment she started saying it, then she was laughing. And it worked. One time, a lady also came to my office in Dovsu. When the man came, please, with no disrespect, he was like this. Very small and short. And the woman, she's huge. And I'm saying, I don't know how. Hey, Oba, I say, Madam, yeah, Bema. And I'm saying, Bema, we can manage. One day, I say, Papa no so ni mu, or man no say, sensation na mocho, pound na mocho, pound, then it's a pine. I did say, I go see, and then chop money in the main mouth saying, I say, Madam, it worked like magic. I say, next time, so whenever a situation overwhelms you, you have to go back. Ask yourself, can I accept it? Can I fight back? If I can't, then I have to accept it and move on. That's one key thing about stress management. We said that people respond to stress differently. So you have to know what triggers stress in you. We are all not the same. Obi owa, enyama we hu we ase no. Eson, enti I'm cockroaches, snakes, no snake crab about to me so ni mu no buniti. Obi so ha cockroach bases here. I just so jane because who be that. So these are things that you need to know. Man, know thyself. When you have to monitor, also remember that it's an individual task. So whatever you do, because we are all different, it's about changing what you can accept. Practically, whenever you are overwhelmed, please, individually, Do things that will bring your heart level down. Taking a deep breath. Sometimes you have to move away. If it is mental, you talk to yourself. Yare we nkume o. I will rise. I will heal. Oh yes, nobody need release positive hormones. You talk to yourself. You have meditation. Go to your Bible. Look for verses that will encourage you. Now you have to do positive imaging. Sometimes you just have to change your mindset. 24, 360 degrees all around, so that you can be able to manage the overwhelming power of the pressure that is very intrusive. Sometimes we have what we call constructive ventilation. Those people, don't mind them. Because they have power over you, they will try to bring you down. Just change the way you react. Whenever they are insulting you, you are insulting them. Idiot Adoma. Idiot Ama. Today I came with my daughter. Adoma, she's there. And then Agnes, I forgot to introduce them. So, individually, you should also learn to accept the things you cannot change. Naturally, people have different tolerance levels. If you cannot change something, accept it and move on. Know your limitations. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes you need to Obi adi amisu meye bi debi. Ewia says no bia ne senya nyame a plan in a life. Don't fear too much. You know the Bible, fear not. It appears 365. So every day you have one dose. It's like a vitamin. And it's supposed to keep you active. Live a healthy lifestyle. Please exercise, good nutrition, adequate rest and sleep. Sometimes some people sleep with their one eye opened. When you do that, you will not enjoy life. There is an aspect of social support. I've mentioned it earlier. It's important for us to always have somebody, a shoulder to cry on. I have an aspect of Fama Nyame. I'm happy when you were singing the three songs. I was told that this place, you don't sing English. Fama Nyame syndrome. Does it work? Sometimes you have to leave it to God. Jaima Nyame, because wahuodin kwa into me. And when you do that, you'll be at rest. You'll be at rest. And that stress level, managing it is in God's hands. All you have to do is to live a healthy life. Learn to laugh. Some people have become memuna. You have to learn to laugh. So for us, as a group, we have to learn to delegate tasks. When you read Exodus chapter 18, you know when Jethro visited his in-law Moses, he was there and he was solving all the people's problems. Plenty. And he said, hey, Accra, you will die, oh. So you have to find able men. So I encourage the church. I know you are doing it already. But as you grow, you have to look for the young ones, mentor them. And when you have all those activities, even at home, don't leave the activities of the domestic or kitchen to only the girls. Let the boys also be part of the work. Let's learn to communicate effectively our emotions in a relationship. When you marry, let your partner know when you are angry. Don't pretend. Sometimes we pretend and our partners don't know our real self. We should open up and let them know that this one, dear, daddy is not happy. Oh, this one. And some of us, we are too unforgiving. Please, say BBC, forgive and move on. I handled a case where a couple were at the verge of divorce. The man came with a diary. And someone AC at the beginning of their marriage, 25 years, he had documented it. And send me or come, because of course I can't read. But somebody has a diary 25 years ago, journaling. Why don't you journal the positive things? And he stood on it. So these are things that I want us to be mindful of. Anger management. Please, it's another way of handling your stress. Sometimes your bosses will give you so much pain at work. But you have to be very careful. When you are even developing cardiac problem, it is not good to be angry. Because when you get angry, you can die. And remember that stress can kill if not managed properly. I just want us to learn to be assertive. It is not easy to look into somebody's face and tell them how you feel. It's very important. For us, whenever you are under stress, the body goes through a lot of discomfort and it wants to do something, excuse me to say, stupid to relieve the pain. So you see people engaging in extramarital affairs, indiscriminate sexual activities, and they develop HIV. I had a couple. The woman didn't know her husband had HIV, and he was reluctant to tell her. So every time, whenever the woman wants to make sexual advances, hey, so from Pacho Sounty. Oh, and I can't win, and he didn't and also count. Not knowing inside there no HIV initial. Into on pese, mammy be home. He was using it as an excuse and route of escape. So please, for all of us, let us manage it. For us as a group, there is a session called feedback session. When you are together and you know somebody's problem, it helps you to feel that you are not alone. So there is an element of group stress management. It is called peer sharing and feedback. So you can have a session where people will come together, even when there is nothing to discuss. Just create anything and let people talk. Also, building social network like what you have. Hebrews 10:25 is admonishing us that we should always fellowship together. So that's one of the key things that we have as Christians that build us and help us to overcome stress. Now, we have to remember some key recreational activities. For example, I don't know whether you organize walks here. You have walks. You have couples club activities. Do you have couples club activities? Then you also have retreats. It helps to manage stress. All male choral dance events. Merry Christmas to you, Merry Christmas to you, over land, over sea, Merry. I'm waiting. Now, man, swaba. Merry Christmas to you, Merry Christmas to you, over land, over sea, Merry Christmas. Now, I want to conclude. Whenever you have stress, remember that it is that element that is helping you to survive. You cannot kill it. You can manage it. It is necessary for your development. If you don't have stress, you will not be able to think creatively. But it helps us to keep us healthy and keeps us in a survival mode. Too much of it can be dangerous to our health. It can be managed in 3 ways. Eating well, taking time to relax and enjoy life, relaxation, rest, exercise, and education. I want you to know that education or knowledge is a tool to managing stress. Why? Anytime you read on something that you don't know, or something that puts fear in you, you are able to learn ways of coping with that particular incident. Social support, I'll keep stressing it. And then our spirituality is very, very important. Let us learn to have satisfying expressions of spirituality. There are people who come to church and they are all fake. They are not real Christians because they have to come. So they are here. Genuinely, if you song you will benefit, or the rewards will accrue in your favor. Second content is to use the NEST, NESTS. So the first module is the stress, STRESS. A nest. You see when the birds, they create a nest in their inside. Nutrition. Exercise comes again. Sleep comes again. Thinking positively. And then social support coming back. And then the last one is to use your 5 S's. You sort out your priorities. Sometimes you need to select the elements. Things that you don't need to do now. Put them at a later date. Keep your journal, keep your diary, keep important things so that you can stay realistic. You need to be realistic and set achievable goals. Sometimes you see people, they have so many things on their table at one time. You can't. You break down. Now, supervise your fears. It's important for you to remember that you are human. Fear will come. But if it comes, overcome it. Don't allow the fear to grip you and keep you on a standstill. Consistently work towards your goals. Some people don't have dreams. They don't have focus. They just live one day at a time, sweet Jesus. That's all I'm asking from you. You have to set, and you work towards it. Celebrate your success. Some people don't even celebrate their birthdays. Only the birthday sukra on kai. You need to celebrate your success. Have a time where you want to be happy with your friends around you. I just want to end with this diagram. We talked about stress as having elements of pressure, elements of resources. So in this element of pressure, we have some strands that you can do something about. They are within your control. The things that are within your control are your mindset, your words, your thoughts, your response. Whatever you do, how you even treat others, it's your choice. Finally, the things that are outside your domain, such as your past, you can't do anything about it. The results, you've gone to write an examination. You are not the one doing the marking. You don't have to worry about it. You've done your best. If you fail, you rewrite. The future is in God's hands. Other people's opinion, hey, if you want to worry about it, you will never move on. And then what others think about you, that one is not within your control. Take home messages. The things that you feel you have control over and you can do something about. There are 2 A's. First one, the one that you can do something about, you avoid the stressor. The second strand of the A is the altering the response. Like what I told this young girl. Idiot commissioner. Idiot, idle commissioner. Then she was now feeling light, and then she was able to cope. The ones that you have nothing to do about, you adapt. And just tell God that, oh, this work that I have is very stressful, but the money is good. So I want to give myself 5 years. I'll save the money, leave this job, and go and look for another one. You have managed it. So it's an adaptation and a survival for you to hold on to a time where you can drop the stress. So it's an adaptation or coping mechanism. And then the one that you don't have control over, for example, accepting the stress. Somebody told me that, Madam, my husband, I don't like the way he's treating me nowadays, but my plan is to have 3 children. She said, "Menyem third one, a major." And true. Because she had her plan. So on this note, I want to thank you so much for you. I'll share the presentation. I don't know whether we have time for questions, but Papa Sofu may give us some 5 minutes so that we can have some interaction time. So I have some references there, and I open the floor for questions. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Madam. That was wonderful. My question is a short one, simple. Can I transfer stress?
Yes, you can. But it depends on who is receiving it. For example, if you come back from your office stressed and you give it to your wife, it's unhealthy. You have transferred, but you transferred to the wrong person. Because when she gets sick, you will suffer. So what we normally advocate as counselors is to go to the counseling room and transfer. I have had cases where people come for stress management and they insult me. And I take it because I am the Zoom lion, I am the baller. Give it to your pastor. Sofo, I'm giving you work. Oh. Transfer your anger on Sofo. When you are able to do that, you package it. Because soon himself Sofo on your way. And kwa wasem. How? Into one conquer can it says any other catcher or yin. We need to bet me out and you know what can your back can be at him. But all cost of her. Package. Sofo. And then me buy and I'm say me colleague be oh yeah the money say me pa but then Sofo will calm you down and advise you on what to do. Okay, so you can transfer stress. It's one of the coping strategies. If it's overwhelming for you, you can do something about it. We can also transfer stress by activity because sometimes it overwhelms you, and when you begin to do walks, begin to talk to people, by doing so, you are releasing, they call it catharsis. You release the pain. And one time I was in the office and then I had one case, a police officer. He came to my office. He sat there, looked at me. Now, also a counselor. Okra say we need counseling. Yes. Wakana we he's poured on you. So transfer it should be done in a healthy manner. So you can transfer stress. Did I do well like that? Oh, okay.
Thank you. Please, when confronted with an overwhelming situation, giving yourself encouragement. How do you draw the line between positive thinking and self-deception or denial? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Whenever you are going through stress, it's an individual feeling. So the discomfort is to your chest. What you tell your mind is that, look, this thing is temporal. It will not last. So you put in mechanisms, talking to people, seeking for opinion, and sometimes let people know that you really need help. Opening up to people you trust can help you to manage your stress. Positively, you sometimes could get it wrong because your mind at that time becomes so fatigued and fixated on the problem that you cannot look elsewhere. So when it happens like that, and you feel that you are not making progress, talk to someone. Speak to an expert. Don't speak to people who have oral diarrhea. Yes, some people have oral diarrhea. Who can't say so speak to people you trust and people who can really give you advice. And you'll be a bit manage you. Some people can really hear it and they even make mockery of you. So for you, you have to know your limit. If you are not making progress, you would feel it because you see that the mind will still not be at rest. Speak to a counselor and they can guide you through the process. Stress management is not a one-off event. It's a process. Sometimes you need to go over and over your mind, think about it, add physical activities, work on your emotions. Sometimes it takes even years, one incident, several years before you'll be able to overcome it. So if you are trying and it's not coming up, don't give up. Don't feel that you are not making success. Speak to a counselor. Okay.
Thank you, Madam. I want to find out whether fear falls under stress. And if yes, how do I manage the fear of death?
Fear of death comes with aging. When you are young, you don't think about death. Though you know young people also die. But it doesn't cross your mind. The moment you hit 50, 60, if there are illnesses, then it exacerbates your fear of death because you begin to fear that one day, this can happen. When you feel this way, ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario for me? One time I was in an aircraft and the turbulence was so bad that, in fact, I was with my children. I was praying tongues. Because I thought that I was coming to die. But they kept reassuring us. Coming back was really a traumatic experience for me. So as you age, naturally, you will feel that death is becoming imminent. But if you ask yourself, I am prepared. All that I need to do, so you don't fear death. The feeling will come, but your reaction will not be so strong like when you are not prepared psychologically. So in psychology, there is what we call palliative care, preparing people to exit in peace. So at this stage, if you have been able to put your issues or your matter in control, why your will, why your fear, be okay. I mean, you are relaxed. But tell yourself, Akwara Oshe Bishop, ni Pope Amochum, Obewu. So fear of death comes with aging. It's a natural feeling. It can really be stressful, especially when you come to an encounter of a friend's death. You begin to fear that, hey, next time I could be the one. And don't fear death. Sometimes my husband tells me I'm crazy. Whenever I'm traveling, I tell him, my this is here or my this is here. In case I go and I don't come. Then he says that maybe how? That's the way you inoculate yourself. You don't fear. And I think that is what I have to say for that. Thank you very much.
Okay. Watch out.
0244-597172. In fact, if you call and I don't pick, I beg you, don't get discouraged. Sometimes I travel a lot. So just text me or send me a WhatsApp. I will definitely respond. And I love doing the work of God. So anytime that you have events like this, please, if I have time, I can come over. Thank you. Police is also afraid me.
Abusuafo, yɛbɛbɔ yɛ afɔre.
Yebe wudinaya, dikoni mama yen. Yebe wudinaya, dikoni mama yen. Oh, grandma, wakuno, afata secha ye. Nyambye grandma. Yebe iwuti, yebe iwuti na ye. Weti kuni mama, yebe iwuti na ye. Yebe iwuti na ye. Weti kuni mama, oh He's the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. He will accomplish it. He will accomplish it. He's the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. He will accomplish it. He will accomplish it. He's the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. He will accomplish it. He will accomplish it.
Munsuro. Asomdwe nka yɛn nyinaa. Mɛgyina Men's Fellowship for anan mu. Nana Hema, anwummere ɛm sɛ wabiebie nneɛma bebree so akyerɛ yɛn. Yɛda Nyame ase sɛ ɔma wo sɛ kwan yi. Na ɛnɛ nso yɛhwɛ sɛ de nsuo tɔ anɔpɛ yi a, awie koraa ne nsa menyaeɛ na yɛse storm bi firi Volta region ba. Ɛnso Nyame adom yɛse ɛtete wɔ ɛpo no so ama yɛtumi ahyia. Yɛrɛbase bebree. We are really blessed and you have really done the teaching. Yɛbɔ Awurade mpaeɛ sɛ deɛ yɛsua ne nnɛ no yɛde bɛtena ase na yɛyiyi stresses ni bebree free hɔ. And the okay yɛ me de pa ne sɛ police for chain yɛn frɛ wo yɛbɛ frɛ wo. If I'm sorry na yɛn to closing room. Me run my gem kwapa. Last. Ato yeshira ya fore no so enu akire papa sofo be ma yenshira erade yeda wase enwumre nso se wo ma yeshiemu na wa church ne ma bebre yenum se ye wo an wa ba yesa ye ba wa sorry fie nso ya ma no kwa ye yi bi de boa wadwuma therefore te ho hyira so na de de be ye bia erade ahyewde anu onyam ewo Yesu Kristo di mu nti amen. May the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. Amen. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.